Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video and the final battle of Jubilee 42, at least normal battles. Normal Battle 3 is not a great stage. Fire units, while having a slight renaissance right now, are still a bit limited because you've either pulled for this meta and the previous meta, or you're stuck with units that are years old. It's not very enticing. The stage is a single fight, and this Armorsaurus does not have armor. Like, it just straight up does not. It has 100k HP, which sounds really cool, and he's got physical resistance and 200% defense, but when you play the stage, you'll very quickly learn that this does not exist. He dies very, very, very quickly, which makes team building not great. This is a turn 3 fight, so you're meant to kill on turn 3. Anything past that, you lose turn bonus points. And yeah, use a fire team. The starting hand are 2 greens and 4 blues, so they want you to blue stack, but also if you try and use Ogre's Pride or Konosuba, the thing will melt. So we didn't use that at all. I'm a little bit off of the max score, which is 69.7. I'm at 67.3, and this is purely because my first team that I'm going to show you, Shuna, is a fraud, and I did not have enough power, and I don't really care about the loss of 2,000 points to try and do it again, because the amount of RNG is ridiculous. So, disclaimers. Number 1 is that your results may vary. I've got a few teams to show you on this. They're not super varied because fire is not great. But, use what you've got. If you have to substitute units in, bring other units in as your box requires you to. This is not going to be an end-all, be-all video. Disclaimer number 2 is these are the characters I use for protection gauge, and these are the units I use for skill point gain. We're going to use them a lot. And disclaimer number 3 is don't forget to go into your town and optimize your fire building so your fire nuking character can be as strong as possible. But with that said, let's jump in. Okay, so this is my highest scoring team. It does not hit the max cap. It does have the potential to do so, though, if your new Shuna is, a little bit stronger. I'm not running the correct charm. I'm running the Alt Rush charm on Velzard right now, thinking I would need it, but it ends up that if we get the RNG, we don't actually, so you could trade it out for like a fire charm or something like that, or an alt damage charm, because we're not really getting that here on this team. But Velzard, element buff, New Year's Rimuru for the rainbows. Raphael, Vengeance Raphael is important for the seal on turn 1. So we've got skill point unit, and then we've got Octagram Guy underneath Shuna, who's up front, because his trait is 18% alt gauge on turn 1, I think, which is going to help us just get her EX alt. Yeah, that's going to be kind of necessary. If you don't have him, you could not run it, and you could put like Violet underneath or something, but then you would need the 5 rainbow orbs on turn 2 from Rimuru, and the Alt Rush charm from Velzard, and that would, that's kind of a big ask. And then we've got Idle Shuna for the synergy buff, and then the Masked Hero for the rewind and the crit buff. So we haven't used the hero in quite a bit, but here she's going to come in a little bit clutch. Okay, so the RNG for this team is god-awful, and I really don't recommend it for people unless they're really trying to sweat for some reason. But we're going to swap out Shuna for the hero. We're going to use the seal ability with Raphael, so that will hopefully prevent us from taking more than 1 damage on a turn, and we're going to save the Rimuru orbs, and we need 5. We need 5 Rimuru orbs right here, because we need to change them into rainbows, and if we get 4, it's not enough to get the EX alt for Shuna. So we do specifically need 5, and that's where the RNG comes in. Also, the RNG from the lizard not hitting specific characters, like the hero, would take like 38 damage or something. We took 1 against Raphael. That's also important for a max quote-unquote score. So here, Rainbow, and then Rewind. So this ensures that we're going to get a lot of extra protection gauge off these orbs. We can now bring in the new Ogre's Pride Shuna for Rimuru. Send these orbs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That does get her EX ult because we are starting with Octagram Guy underneath her. If you don't, you're going to miss that, and you would need the Charm, which we're running anyways because I didn't swap it out because I wasn't sure what we needed at the time. But the Rewind kicks in, that gives us just over 80 points. And now we can use her magic and weakness strike buff and swap her out for Idle Shuna in the back. And we have a Velzard, and a 6th send of Velzard will also get us another Velzard. So we can either use it now, or we can use it next turn. It doesn't really matter all that much. But she has to come out, because we want to maintain her personal buff. Shuna comes in, we'll send this. We won't do too much damage, but we're going to do extra, because we have that element buff. So, 45, 3,000 right there. We don't want to kill. We want to get him as low as possible. But I didn't want to send, like, Shuna last and kill it. So now, this should give us exactly enough points. We took 1 damage there from the seal and the defense trait. And now we have 110, which is exactly enough points to use the 2 55-point skills from Shuna and the hero. So, boom, boom. So, guaranteed crit, crit resistance down, synergy power, element buff plus the Drago effect, which will help our synergy power and the magic and the weakness strike. And then we'll nuke, and we do 1.24, which is not 1.4 million damage. So we take a look at the final score, 1.29. We didn't take any damage score, but we are not quite strong enough to hit 1.4 million, which is the actual cap. So again, if you're running like a different charm, or your Shuna has more dupes or better enchanted gear, she will probably hit that 1.4, and then you can get it. But quite honestly, the amount of RNG for this team is too high, and I don't really care about like 2,000 something points. So we're just going to leave it as is at 67,363 instead of the 69,1 or something it's like. But that is the potentially highest, maxing score team. I just can't physically do it right now. All right, the next team is going to be this Exalted Champion plus Shuna team, Elmesia. Soe is here. We don't really need Soe. You can bring a dedicated green orb changer like Gobta or something instead. Like, we don't use his buff at all. We're not going to get the 300 points to use his extra power. He's just here to orb change specifically, so definitely unnecessary. Bride Shuna is here to steal orbs for the nuking Shuna. Brought Visions of Coleus Rimuru again for the rainbow orbs, so hopefully we can steal and convert to blues, then convert to rainbows, then swap Shuna in. We've got Elmesia for her extra powered alt up and alt down. Shuna still has her own buff, and then we got Velzard to give us the element damage. We're going to go turn 4 with this team, though, because we don't have enough points to use both Shuna and Elmesia's buffs together, so we have to wait another turn. So, turn 1, we're going to use Soe's orb change. Again, not necessary to bring him specifically, just a green orb changer will work. And then we'll bring Coleus Rimuru in. We'll send these orbs, and then we're looking for a 6th hand. So 3 orbs of somebody, really anybody. Hopefully not Rimuru, but we got Elmesia, which is fine. It literally can be anybody. We're not worried about damage taken here. We're not trying to nerf his attack stat or anything. We're just looking for damage output. So we're going to... Oh, interesting. We're going to Rainbow Convert there. I don't know if we wouldn't have done that, but also we didn't have any other orbs to change with Rimuru to begin with, so the idea was there, not quite in theory what I wanted to see. Oh well, maybe if we started like Bride Shuna up front or something. Well, I don't know. There's some way to do it. Either way, we get the ult, right? We get the ult for Shuna, and now we're going to be capped out on points at 100. But we need 160. So we need to burn this turn 3 to get the extra 30 points from Velzard next turn. And I don't want to kill, so we're just going to send 1 orb. Boom. And now we have 160 points, so you can either use the Soe buff, which doesn't really make sense because we don't have anyone to give us synergy rate, or we can just use Elmesia and Shuna's buff. But again, if you don't have Elmesia, you could do a different support unit. It could be Guy, it could be someone else giving 80-point skills. As long as they don't overlap with each other and what Shuna's doing, it'll work. So here we do 1.5 million. So that does do the damage cap of 1.4, but we're also on turn 4, which is a loss in points, and we've taken damage, which is more loss in points. But again, if you don't really care about min-maxing and you just want a good score, this is certainly a good score. It's only like a couple thousand less than what the first team is doing. So don't feel bad about that. Alright, next, we're finally going to use stupid Tempest Elite Rimuru in a nuking scenario for this Jubilee. New Year's Blessing Shion, Shinsha, and Milim, because they're buffing physical characters. Tempest Elite Rimuru is physical, single target fire. We've brought the Tempest Elite Gobta because he is a dedicated green orb changer to blues. And then we brought Summer Hinata as, again, another triple orb stealer. So we should have enough points on the nuke to use both Milim and Shinsha's buffs, plus Rimuru's own personal buff, which is 100% ult and 30% attack. And we might be able to squeak in a little stack of his weakness strike. Can't quite remember, but this is the team. Okay, so as a heads up, if you want to use Protector Trainee from Tempest Elite, because you happen to have her, she will actually do less damage than what Shion is going to enable you to do, because the extra 6% damage buff you get from Trainee against an Earth character does help Rimuru, but the guaranteed crit, guaranteed synergy combined with these buffs is just more impactful. I do have a secondary team which operates the same kind of way, but with different support units that I'll show after this, but it's going to be just still small buffs that are impactful. So here we've got 4 orbs for Gobta. That's great. We're going to use Shion now to convert them because we don't want Rimuru to have the guaranteed crit, guaranteed synergy. We just want the orbs, which unfortunately there's one random green, but we're going to steal them all anyways, so it's not truly a big deal. We'll still get the EX ult for him. So boom, 6 orbs for Hinata, 5 oranges, 1 green, which is now Rimuru's orbs. And looks like, yeah, we don't squeak in the additional burn stack plus the 10% weakness strike, which is not really a big deal. It would actually probably end up killing it, to be perfectly honest with you. So we took a crit there, it's fine. We're not worried about the damage taken on this team. Now we got 130 points, so we can use 1 skill, 2 skill, 3 skill. So we have quite a bit of power right here for Bursty, and then we'll use Shion to activate the crit and synergy, and then we'll just go ahead and nuke. So Rimuru, while not super duper impressive, I mean, he does have value here in this one specific stage, but he only does 664. So yeah, not as impactful as you would like to see for a total of 722. And it's quite a bit less damage than the 1.5 million we did with the last team. But let me bring up the alt team for this. The alt, I guess. Okay, so as you can see, we've simply swapped the Milim and Shinsha, in case you don't have them, for Christmas Shizu and Tempest Elite Benimaru, who you may have pulled off the Season 3 Part 3 tickets, or you may have pulled during your summons for Benimaru and Momiji. Either, some way, shape, or form. We're still using Gobta and Shion and Rimuru to nuke, so we're not going to watch everything. We'll just cut to the nuke turn really fast. Okay, so Shizu costs 55. Benimaru only costs 40 points, but he's giving a 50% physical, 25% ult down. Shizu's giving the fire attack plus the fire resistance down if you have her skill fused, which if you do, great. If you don't, not a big deal. And then Rimuru still has his own attack buff and ult. And now we'll nuke, and we do 927. So we actually do more damage here than what we were doing with the New Year's team, but it is pretty equivalent, and it's the same strategy. We just get more damage. Still not the damage cap of 1.4 million, but it is higher. And you may have pulled Benimaru, and Christmas Cheese has been in the general pool for quite a while, so it's maybe not as quite intensive. I mean, you still need Tempest Elite Rimuru as well, but who knows? You may have pulled him from tickets too. Okay, and for my bare bones team, we're going way back. The Fire 2.0 team, Christmas Shizu, again, making an appearance. We've got Towa, we've got Hero, which you don't need Hero here at all. I think I actually swapped him out for somebody else. Guy, Autogram Lumi, and then we're going to nuke with Violet, who gives herself attack buff, crit, and crit and pierce. So, the only problem with this team, well, one being no EX characters whatsoever, is that it does a lot of damage. Violet with her crit and pierce and her attack buff, she does like 22k a hit or something. This thing does not have that much HP. So you might actually have more trouble with this team than like the Tempest Elite team or something like that I showed you last time. Okay, yeah, I did swap Hero for Gobta because we still need that turn 1 orb changer, and he's not a fire character, so he won't contribute to the burn stack, which is good because that'll kill him. That'll kill this thing really fast if we burn him all the time. So we'll take him out, we'll bring Christmas Shizu in, we'll leave Autogram Lumi for her trait in so we get extra protection gauge, which this will get us a double stack, which is cool. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But you can see he's already pretty low on his health from just one send. We've taken off like a quarter of his HP on one combo, and this is before we start buffing with Violet. So now we need, at least 2 orbs for her. If we can get more, It's actually not good because we're going to do too much damage. So here's the crit, here's the attack buff. There's one stack of the alt buff from Lumi. We'll bring Gobta in for Shizu, so we don't do more fire damage than we already are going to, because we've applied a burn stack. And now we're going to send this. Gobta's the weakest, and that does get us the ult, but we're doing 19k a hit right there. And if we had sent any more Violet Orbs, or if we had kept Shizu in, it would have died from this burn. But we do 7,700. So yeah, we have to play around and be careful with it. But now we have 100 points, plus Towa, which is 140 points total, which means we have enough to use both of the skills from Guy and Shizu. So we're going to get 50% ult, 20% crit resistance down, the fire buff plus fire resistance down, and we can use the pierce power buff from Shizu as well, which is like 15% or something. It's not very strong, but it's a very old team, and it can still do... it'll do damage. It'll kill it, certainly. It's not going to do damage cap by any means, but it's a very old team. What does Violet put out? 298, almost 300k. So, far cry from 1.4 million, but it's full of old characters, and it's certainly something that a lot of people would be able to run to at least get a score, which 45k is actually kind of respectable for how old this team is. You know, the cap is, what, 69? So you're 24,000 low? It's like, you're... In the grand scheme of things, it's not bad, okay? But there is the final battle for normals for Heroes Jubilee 42. Let me know if you have any other team comps that you found that works. I know you could use like a full Ogre's Pride team, but it dies too quickly. You could use a Konosuba team, but I'm afraid it still dies too quickly. But if you have any others, please put them in the comments so people can see it. But that's it from me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.